I'm just a believer that in adversity is where you find your character and what you're made of, and it'll mold you either where you want to go or where you don't want to go, depending on how you perceive it. And adversity is just and failure is the best teacher.
Welcome to the most exciting adventure of your life. Welcome to a new way of living. Welcome to the 5 Mountain Adventures podcast, where we discuss the 5 mountains of cutting edge human development: the physical, mental, emotional, intuition, and spirit. Hi, I'm Casey.
And I'm Andy. And we help people get unstuck and thrive in challenging times. Our goal for 2023 is to help 5,000 people thrive in these challenging times via our podcast, Mental Fitness Academy one-on-one coaching, and Summit Team small group coaching. You can help us reach our goal by rating and sharing our podcast and following us on Instagram and YouTube. Help us raise the vibration of our world, moving from anger, fear, and division to courage, understanding, and compassion. It starts with us.
Today, we are speaking with Brad Ritter. He is first and foremost a husband, father, brother, son, and friend. Family is number one to him, and he enjoys training hard, endurance events, the beach, fishing, shooting, and food. Professionally, he's held various positions in the medical device industry and higher education space. Brad started School of Grit after he graduated from SEALFit's infamous Kokoro Camp, which is renowned as the world's toughest civilian training. After graduation, he wanted to find a way to serve others and help people take control of their lives and get unstuck. He accomplishes this through a proven system that focuses on your physical, mental, emotional, intuitional, and warrior spirit. What he teaches is a lifestyle. It won't be easy, but it'll be worth it. Welcome, Brad.
Thanks, Casey and Andy. Good to finally get on this. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. Finally, we're able to connect our calendars. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. Ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, let's do this.
So we typically like to find out what our guests are most curious about in their lives right now to start.
Most curious. So I've got kids. My daughter is 12. My son's 9. I'm most curious about what they're going to end up getting into later on down the road in life. That could be, athletics or, of course, adulthood, whether they decide to go to college, military, trade school, whatever. That's what I'm most curious about right now.
Very nice. Definitely a wide world there that you could imagine.
Oh, wide world with lots of peaks and valleys, shall we say.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, Brad, we live totally, would you agree we live in VUCA times, right? Volatile, uncertain, chaotic, ambiguous times.
Mm-hmm.
As a father, what is it? How do you go about explaining what's going on in the country, or do you even bring this into their scope of awareness at this point of just the kind of the tension, the uneasiness in the markets, in war in Europe? Where do you go with that with them?
Yeah, so we have TVs in our house. They hardly ever are on, which is great. I think so our kids don't watch a lot of TV. Having said that, we try to keep up to date with the news. I figure, if something's big enough and it happens, like my brother or my friends or someone's gonna let me know, right? The interwebs or whatever, and then we'll try to relay that to them. And as they've gotten older, so my daughter's in 6th grade, my son's in 3rd. They talk school. They talk about stuff, whether it's, Trump or Biden or Ukraine or, you name it. And it's interesting to hear their perspectives, because it's like, as a parent, when you dig deeper, it's like, well, why do you think that? Or like, how did you, because we haven't shared a lot of those comments or just thoughts and ideas with them. And then they'll say it, and it's amazing the influence friends have. Which was true in my time, as well as a kid. It's my parents used to tell me, you kind of, you are who you kind of surround yourself with friend wise. So it makes you want to choose those friends. Be careful who you invite into your life, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But as a parent, we try to, nothing's out of bounds. I'd rather them hear it from us, whether it's a cuss word or something like, oh, we don't talk about it. Like, I want them to hear from us first before they're going to find it.
Yeah.
They probably already do. If you're, if you're a parent, you're like, oh, no, chances are they probably have heard that word. They might know what it is, or they might think they know what it is. And then you really talk about it. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that's what the birds and the bees meant, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's challenging, but it's also a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah. I've got to imagine it's a very interesting journey to be part of.
It is a wild ride and so worth it. It's yeah, I mean, having kids it's best thing that my wife and I were able to luckily have, God willing. So, yep.
Another thing we'd like to say is, congratulations on the book release. And so it's called School of Grit, Unlock Your Potential Through Purposeful Adversity. And it looks like you're hitting some bestsellers on Amazon. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've had some really really cool I don't want to say awards, but yes, I've hit bestseller in a couple categories, which is super cool. Didn't really attend. That was not my intention was to become like a bestseller, but it's a pretty cool byproduct, let's just say. Yeah, it's been awesome.
So, if you wouldn't mind kind of walking us through your journey, how did you get from where you were to, writing this book and formulating this program, the School of Grit?
Yeah, that's a big question. So I'll kind of take you through the process. So I know, Andy, you were talking about living in a VUCA environment. Well, I'm also of the opinion we're living in arguably, at least in the United States. I've never lived abroad, but in the United States, I think we're living in the most comfortable generation ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's not our fault. It just is.
Yeah.
And what we've collectively as a society, I feel we've lost sight of doing hard things and, embracing the suck and getting uncomfortable, being uncomfortable while you're uncomfortable, that sort of thing. And I can attest to it because I lived it. My life was fairly easy growing up compared to others that you may hear of, motivational speakers, TED Talks, public speakers, things like that. A lot of times when people get up and speak, especially if it's like a motivational person, their background is incredible. They've had incredible life experiences. Chances are they've gone through just tons and tons of adversity, let's say. And I didn't have a lot of that. I mean, I'm not saying my life was super easy, but I mean, I got picked on as a kid. I was shy around girls, crap like that. But man, I never had to worry about having a roof over my head or where my next meal was going to come from. My parents are still married, almost 45 years, which is, you hardly ever hear that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the
Yeah.
oldest of four. We have a super tight family, very close. We get together for holidays. We love each other. I mean, yes, we have the normal sibling rivalry and bickering and about stupid stuff, but overall, it's great. I never had to deal with cancer or some, life-threatening illness, never been deployed. So you start adding all this stuff up, it's like, damn, what have I done? Like, I haven't experienced some of that. Not that I want to necessarily, but I'm just a believer that in adversity is where you find your character and what you're made of, and it'll mold you either where you want to go or where you don't want to go, depending on how you perceive it. And adversity is and failure is the best teacher a lot of times. So I realized this in my early 30s and wanted to do something about it. So I saw a TED Talk that changed my life, and it was delivered by Angela Duckworth, who's a psychologist who wrote the book Grit. And her TED Talk's amazing. It's only like 6 minutes, but it's wonderful. And she goes on to talk about how grit is a leading indicator and predictor of success in life. And she's studied, all spectrums of people, from inner city teachers to West Point candidates to sales reps working at cutthroat industries. And the question being, are these people gonna make it, or are they gonna stay till next year? And what she found was the grittier you were, the greater the likelihood that you would be successful. And I thought, man, she's onto something. And she gives a test to assess your own grittiness. And who doesn't love a good test, whether it's a personality test or IQ or whatever. And you can still go there right now. It's called the grit scale. It's 10 questions. It takes like 2 minutes to fill out, and you get instant score. So I took her grit scale, and I scored a 2.2 out of 5, which was, I was grittier than like 20% of the people that had taken it or something like that. And I'm very competitive by nature, and that just didn't sit well with me. And I thought, all right, I'm apparently not gritty. So what can I do about it? And, after some more reflection, the way the questions were worded really did describe me. Like, I was the type of person that would start something and wouldn't complete it. I had shiny object syndrome. I would be very quick to move on to the next thing. I mean, look at the plethora of projects around my house that go, unfixed, or I'll start them with good intentions and never complete it. I thought, all right, there's something here. I'm going to call myself out. So I bought her book, read it beginning to end, and it's such a great book. But basically, you can grow grit, just like you can grow mental toughness, you can grow emotional resiliency. And there's 2 ways to really do it. You can grow it from the inside out, and that's done through personal development. Let's say, like those of us in the Unbeatable Mind community know all about that. Or you can do it from the outside in, and that requires a coach, a mentor, a guru, or an experience. And I thought, experience. How about an immersive experience? I thought that's me. Like, I want to go somewhere. I want to be pushed to my limit, like physically, mentally, emotionally, because I'd never really known what I was capable of, what I was made for. I kind of always played small ball, if you will, and just kind of got by, the gray man, so to speak. So I went back online and typed in to the interwebs. I typed in world's toughest training, and up pops Kokoro Camp, which is put on by SEALFit. So Commander Divine, who you all know, I see a video he's delivering it in front of a class, and like these people that are just in tip-top shape, they all show up. And for those of you who don't know what Kokoro Camp is, it's modeled after U.S. Navy Hell Week, which is a week long. This is a very watered down civilian version of it, because I don't want to be a Navy SEAL. I'm much too old, and I just don't want to do it. So mad respect to those in the military who choose to serve in that regard. But what I wanted was I wanted to know what they knew. Like, man, how did they train, and how did they become so mentally tough and emotionally resilient and all that? And you can read all the books you want, but you gotta do the work, and you gotta be tested. So that was my test. So I signed up for Kokoro Camp, and man, the rest is kind of history. I secured it, and we lost half our class, and that's basically what I wrote the book about, was the experience during that 50+ hours of being up without sleep, minimal food, and not only the evolutions we had to do, which evolutions are, events, the things that the cadre coaches are making you do, but why they're making you do it, the lesson inside of that. And then I tell the readers how to apply that lesson to everyday life as a spouse, as a coworker, as a parent, let's say. So that's a long answer with how I kind of got to writing a book and what led me down this path.
Oh, it's beautiful. A few things stuck out to me as you're telling your story that I can totally relate to. And this is one of the trends I've noticed, or one of the common threads I've noticed with several of our guests, whether they're former Navy SEALs or they work in psychology or therapy. Some of the stories are very similar, and I can relate to them, right? The starting things and not finishing, playing it small, the shiny object syndrome. And it wasn't until the spark of Unbeatable Mind that I was like, oh, wow, what have I been doing with my life? And yeah, this is what I've been looking for. And it's a really interesting journey, I think, that's led us, many of us, to this point of what we're doing now and the realizations that come from it. But one of the pivotal or the key comments that you've made here, the points that you've made is, yeah, you can read a book and you'll get the knowledge, but until you have the experience, until you actually figure out or do the work and find out what mental toughness really is and putting it all together and putting it into physicality, you really don't know. You have a vague concept, and so that's such an important point. So thank you for bringing that forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the parents out there, it's the same thing. You can read all the books on parenting that you want, but until you actually have kids and you get put in those situations where stress is up and something sets you off, it's like people are quick to throw everything they read out the book and just react instead of respond. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So we fall to the level of our training, right? I guess is the our rise. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
the point is yeah, unless you've had the experience, you can have a vague concept. So get out there and have the experience. So I want to lay a good foundation for our listeners here with this process here and this idea, this concept of grit. So what is it? What does it mean to have grit?
So if you look grit up, I mean, there's lots of definitions, character, resolve, things like that pop up. Angela, who wrote the book on grit that I was talking about earlier, her definition of grit is the power of passion and perseverance to unlock a long-term goal. I actually have my own definition that I've kind of distilled over a number of years, and it's a four-parter, so hang on, because I'll explain each one. But I like to say that grit is uncommon perseverance in the face of adversity, backed by a strong why to achieve a worthy goal. All right, so I'll say that one more time. Uncommon perseverance in the face of adversity, backed by a strong why to achieve a worthy goal. So I'll break it down real quick. So common perseverance, to me, that's effort. That's work, putting in the work like we've been talking about, putting forth the effort. Because, you could be talented all you want, but at some point you're going to be presented with a situation that's going to be more than your talent. And that's where people crack if they're not used to putting in the hard work and they've just been relying on their talent the whole time. So that's uncommon perseverance. Adversity, I think we all know what adversity is. That can be you could personally invite adversity into your life. Like, hey, I'm going to go run 3 miles. Well, that's adversity to me. Like, I don't really want to do that. Or even if you want to do that, like, that's going to take a toll on your body. So that's for sure adversity. But adversity doesn't discriminate, much like crisis. So we all know there's things that's going to happen in our lives that we don't invite, getting that call that maybe a loss of a loved one, or getting diagnosed with cancer, or, you name it, right? So that's adversity. Backed by a strong why. Simon Sinek's the guy that kind of made this famous to me anyway. He wrote a book, Start with Why.
Mhm.
And it's pretty simple. Ask yourself why you're doing something 3 to 5 times, and you'll get to the root of why you're doing it. And if you can't answer it, then maybe you need to reevaluate it, because I don't know, why are you doing it? Because it's the
Mhm.
cool thing to do, because someone told you to do it and you thought, yeah, it might work for me. So really having a strong why. And then to achieve a worthy goal, um, all goals are not created equal. It's got to fit, your life. And I think you guys are familiar with the FITS methodology,
Mhm.
fit in your life, the level of importance, timeliness, and just being able to get specific on it. So like I could have a goal of writing a book, but I mean, if I didn't reverse engineer that and say, okay, well, what's that going to require? I need to write whatever 500 words a day for the next X amount of months. I wouldn't have gotten to the place that I was. It just would have been such a big goal. I'd be like, there's no way I can do it. But you got to break those big goals into manageable chunks and do them weekly, daily, weekly, whatever. So that's my definition of grit. And grit can be grown. Absolutely can be grown. One of the ways that I like to do it is just by doing something that sucks every day.
Yeah.
And that is different for everybody. So, what might suck for me might not suck for you. So I hate waking up early. I still hate waking up early. I love sleeping. Like it feels so damn good, man. It just
Yes.
does. But I just know with the way my current life is with little kids and my wife, if I want to work on some of these goals that I have in my life, whether it's, working out or writing my next book, maybe, or working on an online program or, a live event that I'm hosting in September, when am I going to do that? Like, I actually don't want to do that at night because my kids are in school and my wife works. So when they get home, I want to be dad and I don't want to work anymore. And I'm tired at 9 o'clock, people. Like I'm in bed at like 9:30 Eastern
Mm-hmm.
most nights. I try to be anyway. Summer, it starts going a little bit later because the sun's out a little bit later, but I'm waking up early. I'm up at 5 every morning. Not because I like it, but because I know that's the me time that no one else is up and I can focus on myself and get some of those, we can call them selfish goals. They don't have to be, but it is me working on something. That's the time I use to do that type of stuff. Yep. So that's an example of growing your grit would just be waking up a little bit earlier than you do now. But some people might like waking up early. So I don't know, that might not work for you. Maybe it's a cold shower. Maybe it's running. Maybe it's learning an instrument or a foreign language. Or the point is just you gotta keep improving over time, and it's the consistency of it over time. Little doses each and every day. Like James Clear wrote the book Atomic Habits. Just
Mm-hmm.
doing like little things every day, and they'll just have a huge compounding effect. And at the end of a year of doing like little things, like you won't even recognize yourself, or you won't believe, holy crap! Like I actually got that done. Look what I did.
When I think about energy and vitality, I think about a kid. They have the energy to play, run around, climb things. That energy that feels like you just can't contain yourself. It's the stuff we've always wished they could just bottle up and sell to us, right? Well, this company's found a way to do just that. Amari's Happy Juice Pack. Mood, motivation, energy, things our bodies can naturally produce when both our guts and our brains are happy and communicating. And we can actually improve that process of communication across the axis of the gut and the brain. This is cutting edge science. This is game changing information. This is where science meets soul. This is Amari. And we're helping people feel better naturally. Check out the links in the show notes for discounts and more information.
Yeah, I love it. So thank you. I love your definition of grit. Um, so a couple things popped into my mind here as you're explaining this. And the first one is, that magic time in the morning. You had said the word selfish. I kind of want to dive into that a little bit, right? Because I've heard arguments on both sides, and I think the term selfish probably is accurate, but it's not selfishness for the sake of selfishness itself, is it?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I was hitting at. Like, if you're looking at it, I guess on the outside, yeah, you're up so you can do you, right? Whatever
Hmm.
that is. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But you know what? That's not being selfish because I know if I don't fill my cup, how am I going to show up for others if I'm not getting my needs met? And you see this all the time, man. People who are burn the candle at both ends. They're not taking care of themselves physically from maybe a movement standpoint, nutrition. What happens? At some point, they have a real medical issue because of
Hmm.
stress. Stress will kill you if you don't check it. So 100%, man. Like it's I know this people use this analogy all the time, but it's like being on the airplane and the oxygen mask comes down. And it's
Yeah.
like you put yours on first, then you put on your kids. Or I like to say lions eat first. So why do we eat first? So we can protect everybody else. Like we gotta get ours first.
Yeah.
Having said that, I do let my wife and kids eat before me, but um, yeah. But yeah, I agree. It's not really selfish. Like what I like to say is self-care is not selfish.
Hmm.
Put another way. Yeah.
Beautiful. Uh, Again, with the that magical time, the magical hour or two before the rest of the world wakes up. What does Brad do? What's his win in the mind practice for the morning?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. You know, there's no need to really complicate it and have this like, hey, this list of 18 things you got to do. I mean, if you can do that, like, you know, kudos to you, man. That's awesome. But that's just not me, because I'm the type of mental, like, if I don't get one of those things done, it's gonna sit with me throughout the day. So I keep it very basic. I've got like 5 things I do maybe. One is actually wake up. So whenever I set my alarm, don't hit snooze. That's the first battle of the day. If you hit snooze, you already lost. So wake up, um, whatever time you set it for. So wake up, make my bed, and I'll even make my half of the bed when my wife's not up yet. But she's starting to become a morning person too, so we tend to get up together, and it helps to have an accountability partner. If
Yeah.
you can get it, man, that's solid. That's where it's at. You guys can really help each other out. So we usually make the bed. I slam water because we're dehydrated when you wake up, and I love coffee, but coffee's going to dehydrate you even further. So, you know, 16-ounce glass, chug a lug, boom, drink some water, and then I have about a 20-minute routine where I'll do about 10 minutes of breathing, which you guys know what box breathing is. So I usually do,
Yeah.
big fan of box breathing. And then I'll do 10 minutes of just stretching. And it's just a stretching routine that I've kind of made my own. It's a little bit yoga, a little bit deep stretching, a little bit range of motion. So by then, like, I got the juices flowing, I'm ready to go. And at least I got that in. And then I can work on whatever it is that's my mission, so to speak, for the day, or my priority, I should say. So it could be you know, putting together this live event that I'm working on, or it could be starting an online course, or whatever. Because inevitably, like, life's gonna mess you up. I mean, in a perfect world, you'd have that hour, maybe, man, if you had two, that'd be just amazing. But a lot of times you intend on having that hour, and then, you know, one of your kids wakes up early and needs help with their homework, or they forgot something. It's like, all right, cool, you know, I'll go be dad. No worries though, you know, no big deal. You got to be flexible with it too, is what I would say. Like, even though it's a morning routine, there will be days where I don't get it done. But that doesn't mean you can't do it in the afternoon, or you can't
Hmm.
do it in the evening. So don't think that, hey, just because I didn't get it done in the morning, like, all's lost. Oh no. On the contrary, like, you've got a full day to really get it done. So
Great point. I think, excuse me, I held this idea for a while that you had to have the perfect morning routine, the perfect morning ritual. And then, like you said, if something went wrong, if I didn't get it all done, if something, tossed a wrench into the machinery, if you will, it threw me off for the day. So being maybe a pedantic to that point is not really healthy. Having the mental flexibility to shift your fire, adjust your day, and then not holding on to that, not framing it as a failure, but looking at it as, okay, so this happened, not much I could have done about it. Did I process it and react or respond in a strong way? If not, what did I learn from it, and how can I move through the rest of my day without letting it drag me down? So I just love that concept. Thank you.
oh, you're welcome. I think you know, routine gets used a lot, and this can be good, but they can be bad too. Like, you could be in a bad routine, stuck in that rut. And yeah, I think being, like you said, being flexible is really key. It's a key to life, but it's especially key to, you know, your morning and how you're waking up, because you just got to be ready for the unexpected, because it's definitely going to happen
Every day.
every
Yeah.
day. Yep.
Expect the unexpected.
Mhm.
There's an idea, right, or a concept that we use in the community that people in the military would probably be familiar with is the dirt dive, right? And you look at that, you can dirt dive your day. What could go wrong? And it's the idea of everybody has a plan until they get punched in the nose, right? Punched in the jaw. Um, so what potholes might you encounter along your day, and what mindsets or tactics can you adopt to avoid or circumvent those potholes so they don't actually throw you off your game? You have a plan and to adjust for it. So is that something that you use as part of your process?
Yeah, I do. I don't use that as much in the morning, so to speak. I probably don't dirt dive that a whole lot, but I definitely do it as it relates to bigger top hierarchy goals, let's say, like big things you're going after. Yeah, you got to be able to pivot and adjust and kind of move on the fly. So, I like, I'm a big fan of planning, but I think people a lot of times can get stuck in the planning phase for too long and perhaps never even get off the X. You know what I mean? So I think like 80, 75, 80% good enough plan is better than 100% perfect plan, because there's no such thing that never gets executed. At the end of the day, action trumps everything. So once you feel it's good enough, like, go do it. And you know what? If you fail, like, good for you, because that's something that's a mindset change for me that like, because growing up, it was, practice makes perfect, and you didn't want to let anyone know your deepest, darkest fears, and that you didn't know the answer to whatever. I was that kid in class that was afraid to raise his hand because I just didn't want everybody to think, oh, this kid doesn't know the answer, and meanwhile half the class probably doesn't know. But anyway, so it's changed a lot to where, and I can't really point to a specific moment. I think it's just a combination of a lot of things that's happened to where failure's great. Like, I want to fail at certain things because I'm learning. I'm honing in. I'm trying this. Okay, that didn't work. Let's shift fire, so to speak, and we'll go this route now. The key is not making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And that's something I teach my kids a lot, is just kind of having that mindset of failure, and it's good to fail because that means you're getting pushed outside your comfort zone. So I think it was Sarah Blakely. She's the owner of Spanx. She's married to Jesse Itzler, who wrote Living with a Seal. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but Sarah, I saw this on like years ago, just on a whim. She made this post, and she said that her dad used to ask her at the dinner table, "What'd you fail at today at school?" And I thought, ooh, that's great. Because what do we usually ask? Hey, how was your day? It's good. It's good. And like, it's like pulling teeth to get any information. But when I ask, okay, cool, what'd you fail at? That makes them think. And it's like, all right, what did I fail at? And it doesn't have to be anything big. It could just be something, teeny tiny, small to them, but it's like, good. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure you're growing. Because if you're not failing, you're not growing, Yeah.
Boy, that's such a paradigm shift, I think, for so many of us in the States or in Western culture. Yeah, we're taught, never fail, failure bad. And that was certainly the environment that I grew up in, going to a Catholic grade school. The failure was
me too, man. 8 years.
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Catholic grade school. Yep.
Yeah. So you get it, right? It's, failure was that, oh boy, would you get it, right?
Did you have was your principal a nun too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yep.
yeah. It was like the paddle was there on her. Like, I was like, you were afraid to go to the principal's office. Not anymore. It's like, kids, at least my kids, they don't like fear like that. Their principal. And I'm not saying you need to be, maybe that's crossing the line a little bit, but it's like, I feel like we're going way on the opposite end now, where it's like, what? You're getting how many options? Or like, there's no disciplinary? Like, this is crazy. Yeah. Anyway, we could go down a rabbit hole with that, but
Yeah, absolutely. But a healthy respect for the position of authority in that
that's
case, at
it.
least. But how much, how often were we stunted as children because we were taught that you can't fail, you should not fail, failure's bad.
Yeah.
And at least in the world that I grew up in, that was the case, and it wasn't about learning from failure. It was, okay, now what punishment am I going to get for my failure?
Yeah. Punishment. You get yelled at, whatever. And it's like, okay, I'm not gonna do that anymore. Which means I'm not gonna try anymore, unless I know I can do it. Yeah.
I laugh now, but as a kid, it's like, whoa, what the heck do I do with that?
Oh yeah.
All right. So, we touched on grit a little bit, and we also mentioned mental toughness. So I wanted to kind of bring these ideas together and talk about purposeful pain and adversity, and why we should seek it out. And I know we touched on this, but how do you go about coaching these concepts? What do you train on?
Yeah, so excuse me. I train on the five mountains, just like I think you guys do. That's the foundation. I mean, there's other
Mm,
things we look at, but inside the five mountains, physical, mental, emotional, intuition, warrior spirit. There's lots of ways to get uncomfortable and put yourself through like let's call it purposeful pain. So the easiest one to me is physical. It just is.
mhm,
And unless I have a client who for whatever medically can't do certain things, then there's ways that we will kind of get around that. We'll alter the programming for them, but physical is to me just it's the gateway to the mental and emotional. So I'm just a huge believer in the pain cave, so to speak, with
mhm,
that. But realizing too that it's fitness, not brokenness, meaning the goal is not to go max effort, max weight every day. At some point, you're going to hurt yourself, or you're just going to spin out of control. So, really, what we're looking for is optimal performance versus peak performance. So that's what I work on with my clients inside of the physical, and we work out together. So, although my coaching right now is virtual, just like we're meeting right now,
mhm,
we'll do virtual. So every Saturday morning, I lead a workout from my garage. So we go through about an hour and a half of workout together, a little sweat session. And then throughout the year, periodically, we'll do tougher events to like really, really push us. So earlier in the year, we did the 4x4x48 challenge, which is where you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
mm,
Although, if you weren't a fan of running or wanted to do something else, basically we altered that and just said you had to do some sort of workout every 4 hours, about 40 minutes for 48 hours is what it becomes. So that was a lot of fun. And that was a way we could include everyone. So it's like if you wanted to go on ride on a bike, ride on a bike. You want to just walk, go walk every 4 hours. So and like I said, that why I like starting with physical, it's the easiest one to train and you can see the results. Like you can physically feel sweat, see sweat. You can see when you're losing weight. You can see when you're gaining muscle. You can see when you're looking better in front of the mirror. All the other ones are a lot tougher to train and to see at times. But that's why I just believe physical unlocks all that. And when we're doing tougher crucibles, let's say, it becomes much more than just physical. It definitely becomes mental and emotional. And then sometimes you are using your intuition on what you think you need to do next. And then you are tapping into that warrior spirit. So it can encompass, all five. So that's what we'll do. But then it's not just physical either. I mean, it's a foundation, but we'll do challenges inside of the emotional realm where we'll have to have a crucial conversation with someone that we've been putting off, and we'll talk about it as a group. Okay, here's who I'm talking to. Here's why I'm scared to do it. And then, okay, what's the date you're committing to? And then go do it, report back. We've done challenges with inside the spiritual domain too. So, we touch on that. We go spiritual in the School of Grit and talk about, your relationship with God and how you want to try to strengthen that. So we try not to shy away from any of those. We'll do alcohol is another one. Examining your relationship with alcohol.
mhm.
Is it using it for a stress relief, using it to celebrate something? And then we did a month off for those of us who have a few beers or some wine every once in a while. We took the whole month of January off. So yeah, I'm just a big fan of nothing's out of bounds, and we're doing it together. It's not just me up there. It's not just one of my coaches up there telling you what to do. Like we're all doing it together, which I think makes it really cool.
Oh, it makes all the difference in the world when you have the person leading doing the work alongside you. That's great. What did you say are some of the biggest benefits of the team environment? You mentioned your Saturday mornings at the gym, working out over Zoom. What benefit does that bring?
Oh man, it's well, first and foremost, the crew is open to men and women. So I encourage most of the people who are in the group are men, which is fine. I seem to attract don't take this the wrong way. This is gonna sound. I attract men in my coaching group. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I almost had to like open up mouth, insert foot moment. But we have women too. It's just predominantly we're male inside of School of Grit. But we are looking for definitely women who want to work out and come alongside us. But what's cool is I encourage the members to bring their spouses, bring their kids, bring their neighbors. So that's been really cool, is just to kind of see, hey, who all shows up and then who are they bringing? So that's super, super cool. And then, I don't lead. I try not to lead every workout. I let the team lead as well, because I think that's super important, ready to lead, ready to follow. That's one of the Navy SEAL principles that we try to follow in the group. So it's just a ton of fun, man. And then at the end of the day, it's like you get to sweat it out with someone. And they're not too early in the morning. It's 8:00 Eastern. So I guess depending on where you live, if you're Pacific, yeah, that's about 5 a.m. on a Saturday. But I can't think of a better way to start your morning, because then you're just like, you're ready to rock. You got that out of the way. You got to work out with someone who's going to push you, a team that's going to hold you accountable. Yeah, it's awesome stuff.
And no matter what else your life throws at you for the rest of that day, you've already got that done, and that's a lot.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
Wonderful. Casey, sorry, I've kind of dominated this question in this part of the call, so
Go for it.
feel free.
And Casey's got that radio voice too, man. She was doing the intro. I was like, wow, that's not recorded. Jeez, it sounds amazing.
Oh, she's great. Yeah.
Something I keep thinking about and that comes up, in our work a lot is the phrase just doing the work. Or I think what's harder to describe is doing the inner work. I think it's easy for people to picture, a physical workout and, pushing through a mental block. But what does it really look like or mean to you, doing the inner work?
Yeah, it can be hard to explain. The reason I say that is it's hard, someone can't physically get into your mind and see everything that's going on and all those thoughts that are happening. But I think that's where, the old adage of slowing down to speed up really comes into play, because by human nature, we probably try to do too much too fast. And I have to constantly remind myself, just slow down. And what has taught me that, the biggest lesson through that, was something I had dismissed and poo-pooed forever. And that is meditation and breath work. Because I would try it and just be like, man, it's so hokey. Quit, try it, quit, try it, quit. And then through found box breathing that Mark taught. And I was like, okay, I can get down with this. And man, that's just been a fundamental game changer for me and for my clients. But one of the biggest benefits I've gotten out of the box breathing practice is the ability to look within, slow down, and I'm just a believer, like, the answers are inside of us. You just got to get through all that muck and dirt and crap and grit that surrounds it, and it's there. But you gotta slow down. You gotta get rid of that noise, and it's really tough today with technology, and just heck, trying to find a quiet spot sometimes can be very tough to do if you're stuck in traffic, or there's a bunch of people around, or TV's on, or whatever. But just trying to find a little quiet space, even if it's just for 5 minutes, and just really check in with yourself. How am I doing today? What's the most important thing I need to get done today? Just ask some basic questions. And that's the work that it's hard to measure, kind of like what you're saying. Like, it's pretty easy to measure a workout. All right, I lifted X amount of weight this long, my run time was this. But then when you talk about, like, emotionally clearing yourself, cleaning yourself, that stuff, it takes a while. You just got to know it's it's a lifetime of work, and you're never done. There's always more there. Or maybe you uncover something that's like, oh, I didn't even know that was even there. Okay. and you lift it up and you're like, holy crap, how deep's this hole go? Do I even want to jump in there? Or let's maybe just cover it back up and say, yeah, we're good. I'm gonna pretend like I didn't see that. Yeah.
We'll do that another time. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it some other time. Yeah, good question. It's the internal work is tough. And I believe that's probably where you need a coach or a mentor the most. Or you need a guide, you need a guide. Because that guide and that mentor, hey, they've got their own stuff they're dealing with too. It's not like they're enlightened and like floating or whatever. Like they've got their own baggage, they've got their own stuff. So it's important for them just as well as it is for you. I learn more from my clients than they probably do for me. I like to think. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that you called that out too. It's a lifelong progress or process, and especially in a world where we're so big on the instant gratification.
Yeah.
You hear so often people just expect to go through some energy clearing or go to a therapy session and wake up the next day and all is well and all their problems have disappeared. But it's a slow process that you have to focus on pretty much every day, and hence doing the inner work.
Yeah, and I like to think of it too as more prehab versus rehab. So, if maybe if you don't have a situation or a problem, let's say that we're trying to uncover and fix, there's nothing wrong with doing some prehab and just getting that strong foundation. And I think that's super important. And that's what I view it a lot of times as, like, if you're not coming to let's say a coaching session with something, then it's more prehab than it is rehab, but it'll be there. You've now been practicing it to where when something does happen, you'll be more equipped to deal with it. Yep.
Building resilience. Yeah. Love that.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a great job, I think, of laying the foundation here of grit, mental toughness. We've touched on goal setting in the FITS model or process for setting goals and micro goaling, chunking it down here. And this is all powerful practice. And as people bring this into their daily lives, part of their daily process, I found, at least initially for me, there was this desire, this overwhelming desire or need to do much more, get out there and, make some massive business goals or goals for work that probably took me way off track, because they took me out of practice. They stretched me. Well, that was good. I lost balance in my life.
Mm-hmm.
To what degree does we hear this term a lot these days, is work-life balance? What does that mean to you, and what's your perspective on that? I started hearing it back probably in 2012, and I wasn't quite sure that I ever hit the balance part of it, working for somebody else, but that's another story. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I can relate to. I mean, I'm still I still have a W-2 job. So I've worked for big corporate America, and now I'm with a small family-run company, which is, they're just a joy to work with. So I've been through that a little, the bumps and bruises, and where during part of my career, let's say, I was flat out chasing money. Like, I've been in sales since 2003. And yeah, I mean, my income was directly tied to sales, and I viewed my job it was to, provide the best life I could for my wife and kids. And I viewed that as money for a long, long time. What was the consequence of that? The consequence was I traveled a ton, and I felt like I was coming home with a pocket full of money to a room full of strangers, if you will. And I thought, man, it's, again, that internal voice. And you got to slow down and actually listen to it, because it's trying to tell you something. And if it keeps coming up, there's something there. Whether you believe that's God, the Holy Spirit, whatever you believe in, That's your internal voice. But follow it because it's telling you something for a reason, and take action on it. That's what mine told me years ago. And fortunately for me, I got fired from said job. And I used to hate saying that. I'd be like, oh, I got laid off. No, I got fired. I got fired because I was on call, and I was in medical sales at the time, and I was on call, and just man, it sucked. Like, I just Monday through Friday on call, rotated weekends every 8th weekend. And man, when your kids are little, that's really, really hard. The money was great. It's fantastic. But it's like, I can't even like go out to dinner and enjoy a dinner with because I'm wearing a pager. Back when I think pagers are probably still around, but I wore one. And man, that was not fun. I just knew I could see it. Like, I wasn't working out. I looked like crap in the mirror. I was eating pretty crappy. And fortunately for me, I got fired. Isn't that funny? I can say that now as one of the best things that ever happened to me. 3 weeks before Christmas too. And what happened? I bumped into a buddy at Sears Auto Care, which Sears doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think. At least the one by us is closed, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's how old I'm getting. But we were getting our cars worked on, and I was like, "Hey man, where are you working?" And I was like, I got fired, bro. Oh no, I didn't. I said I got laid off, because I was afraid to say I got fired. I should have been like, I got fired, bro. And he's like, oh, I'm working in this industry. He's like, you'd be perfect for it. He's like, in fact, we got a position opening up. He's like, are you interested? And I was like, well, what do you do? And he's like, I sell books to colleges. And I'm like, that's a job? Someone does that? Absolutely, they do. Everything's bought and sold in the world, right? And man, I was in that industry for 12 years. And it was like one of the best industries I ever was fortunate. And I made more money doing that than I did in medical. And I had my life back because I wasn't on call, and I was working out, and I could, did I travel a little bit? Yes, but it wasn't anything like I was. All that to say is I know work-life balance, and some people will argue and say it's not possible. I think it is. It's not going to be perfect though, and it will change throughout life depending on the season of your life, which is different for everybody. So if you start a brand new job, guess what? You're probably going to be working long hours and extra time. Why? Because you don't know anything, probably. You might not know the industry. You might not know the product. You might not have the political capital built up. No one knows you. So you got to build that reputation. But after time, I'm not saying you can slack off, but now you know the process. You know who to go to for stuff. And what maybe used to take you 2 hours only takes you 30 minutes. That's what I'm talking about. So that gives you some more time. You just have to realize the season you're in. Likewise, if you got little kids, if you're a brand new parent, good luck. Good luck. It's great, but it is taxing. It is trying. Sleep deprivation is a real thing. And yeah, good luck trying to get a workout in. That's all I'll say. It can be done. You don't need a lot of time. In 20 minutes, you can get done what you need to get done and get a nice little sweat. So the balance thing, totally doable. It just really depends what season of your life you're in.
Yeah. Thank you for having the courage to speak your truth with the layoff versus firing.
Oh yeah, I got fired.
I think that, again, many people listening can relate to that, right? It's the shame side of it, right? The low energy
shameful
side.
Hell yeah.
And it shouldn't be, right? Not anymore, at least, right? And I've went through that same thing. In that process, that experience of losing that very well, the job that paid very well, brought me to a point where I was back working with a company I had left, doing the things I loved with the people that I enjoyed, and that's where Casey and I met. So you never know what that's going to turn into, right? It's
what a cool story.
Yeah.
And is that not failure? I mean, what we were just talking about, embracing failure, because we were afraid, probably a lot of that, just the way we were raised or whatever, right or wrong. It was like, man, if you get fired, that's failure. And I'm like, yeah, but it could also be a really good thing. Maybe it just didn't match you. Like, that's just not who you were. That's fine. But what a cool story. You got to meet Casey. That's, enough said. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
So the people are listening out there, go get fired. It's
go
time
get fired.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Time to shake it up. No.
Yep. Shake it up.
if you're going to make a leap, make sure it's thoughtful and not knee-jerk reaction type, right? Because
Yes.
you definitely need to plan. You need to have you need to dirt dive what could go wrong, because it's going to happen. And that could
Don't
be a
burn
whole
don't burn the boats and not have a place to go.
yeah, that could be a whole other
Yeah.
podcast that we probably should do in the future. Um, but Brad, thank you so much. I wanted, before we jump into the wrap up here, um, tell us about the School of Grit. So you've got your book, you've got your community, you do one-on-one coaching as well.
I do, limited because I can only take on a few people. But I love the one-on-one coaching. So yeah, if you're looking for one-on-one coaching, let me know. But I also have small group coaching. We meet over Zoom. It's set up like a class. So I've got a coaching cadre that pops on, and at the beginning of every month, I come out with a class schedule. Yeah, there's roughly about 8 calls per month. They're typically Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Eastern. And you pick the class or the course that you like. Don't worry about the ones that you don't. And yeah, we all work out together on Saturday mornings and do crucibles together. So it's a lot of fun if you like the small group stuff. And then yeah, I got a live event coming in September. So September 15th to 17th, School of Grit's coming live, and it's going to be held at Camp Atterbury, which is 45 minutes south of Indianapolis. It's an active military base. I've got 2 nights, 3 days there with me and my expert cadre. And the idea is we are going to put you into situations, let's call them, where you might have a little bit of fear, a little bit of chaos, a little bit of anxiety, but we're going to teach you the tools, the tactics to overcome. You're going to learn teamwork, communication, leadership skills, and get to do some really, really cool stuff that maybe you haven't had an opportunity to do. So more to come.
Very exciting.
I cannot wait to do the live event. Yeah.
Nice. That's going to be exciting. I can't wait to see a little bit more about that. Always
Yep.
the submersion events always seem so
Yeah, it's not I want to preface it. It's not Kokoro Camp. It's not a 50-hour beatdown. There will be some physical, of course, there's going to be some physical training, but you don't have to have a minimum standard or meet a certain level to go. It's going to be a lot of fun, but it's going to push you physically, mentally, emotionally, intuitional, warrior spirit, the whole thing.
Awesome. Yep. Thank you so much for your time. Just a great conversation. Love where we went today, and just everything that you had to add was very useful, and I think will help a lot of people out in getting started or unstuck.
What's all about? Hey, we're all trying to do the same things. Typically, I find so we're human beings, and happy to help anytime. Thank you for having me on, Casey, Andy. This has truly been a pleasure. Hopefully, we can do it again.
Our pleasure. Real quick, where can folks go to find you? Just School of Grit on the socials?
Yeah, School of Grit on the socials. My website's .org, so schoolofgrit.org, not .com. I don't own that domain, and I'm not paying for it right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe I will later on down the road. And then yeah, the book's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, pretty much everywhere where books are sold. So check it out. Love to hear from you.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
We'll have links in the show notes. Friends, thank you for taking the time to listen to our podcast. We appreciate you. You can find out more about what we do and what Brad does, how we get people unstuck, feel better, and thrive in these challenging times. When the podcast is up, well, it's up now. If you're hearing this, it's on our website. It's on the socials, 5mountaincoaching.com. Have a great one.